Alright, so I'm back with another video, and today I want to talk about being a junior front-end developer. I saw some posts on Reddit and online that people were asking, what do you do as a junior front-end developer? What are the requirements? What kind of tech stack do you need? What kind of projects do you need to apply? And I've been working as a junior dev for the last 2 years now, or maybe even longer. And I just want to share my experience with you for anybody who's interested in getting into this field. I can highly recommend it because it's a lot of fun. And yeah, I just want to show you what projects I made. I mainly did some YouTube tutorial projects on React, and just want to showcase this to you and just want to show you what I applied with. Right, so let's jump in. All right, so this is one of the projects that I did, and that project was just I kind of simulated an online shop. Of course, it's not well designed or anything, but it was a lot of fun for me, and I learned quite a lot building out this project. And this wasn't my first project. I think I made some maybe 2 or 3 projects in React before I started with this project, so I kind of knew a little bit about it, but of course not very much. For example, what was new to me here and what I really learned here was React Router. For example, if I add something to the card, I would be redirected to the card, and I got to learn what state really was, because if I added something to the card, then this card component up here should also know how many products are in the cart. And you kind of got to work with state and everything, and with the React Router and so on and so on. And I also used, I think it was either Bootstrap or Material Design Bootstrap from Google. And I don't even know if I made this responsive. Oh yeah. So I also got to know what responsive design was, and that was quite a while ago. I think that was 2 or 3 years ago. So yeah, it doesn't look very good. I didn't care much about design, even though you should care about design when you're a front-end developer. But yeah, that was one of those projects that I made. Another project was this food to fork project right here. And unfortunately, I don't have any images right now. Maybe the API changed or something. But that was one of the first projects that I worked on, where I would actually work with an API in the backend. And for example, I could type in some food, I think. It doesn't even work anymore. It's kind of old, and I never worked on it. The idea was that you could type in some food that you want, and then you would be presented some recipes, right? For example, right here, you have this jalapeno, pepper, chicken, whatever, and then you got all of those. Then you got your recipe right here, and you can be redirected to the recipe URL, and so on and so on. And all of that works with an API. So I made some requests to an API. I also got to know what Axios was. I got to know what JavaScript fetch was. I got to know, so many things that you need to learn when you work with an API. And being a front-end developer, you always have to work with an API. There's no way around it. So you will always have to know how to work with an API. And so that was a very important project that I worked with. In many interviews, I also talked about this project because it's an essential thing to know, to get to understand APIs and how to work with APIs, right? So that is also recommended. If you are building your portfolio, you should create a project where you work with some APIs, right? The next project I did, that was one project that I bought on Udemy from Joe Santos from Coding Phase. And I also like this project right here because it kind of looks very nice, but there's no functionality behind this. I just like to add this to my portfolio because I like the look of it. And what's interesting here is that I got to know how filters work, and you can choose something and then the selection would change. I would have some different apartments, and then I could add some filters. Maybe I want only the apartments in my city, or in the rich area of Stuttgart. All right, so so that was a very, very nice project. I got to learn a lot about React here. Unfortunately, pagination doesn't work here, and it doesn't matter if pagination works. There was a lot of CSS work because I think that all of the CSS right here, I didn't use any it didn't use any framework or anything, no library, and I did all of this CSS work from scratch, right? So let me just refresh this and to get back to this page right here. Yeah, so I got to learn more about how React components work, how the whole app knows about state from other components and how components work with each other, right? So that was also a very important project for me. And I also, in the interviews, I got to talk about those projects. So I got to talk about what my challenges were, how I overcame those challenges, and so on and so on. Unfortunately, I think this wasn't on mobile view. Yeah, when I was in the interview, they told me that it wasn't in mobile view, and yeah, but that didn't matter that much. Just as a side note. And I really like that project right here. That was one of the last projects I made when I was kind of comfortable with React, and I used Gatsby for that project right here. And also Gatsby works with GraphQL, so I got to work with GraphQL, for example, those images and that effect while the images are loading, that is from Gatsby, and with their GraphQL API. I got to know what static site generation was, and so on and so on. And design-wise, I like this project right here the most, and I'm not quite sure anymore if that was also a tutorial that I found on YouTube or if I did this myself. Not quite sure anymore, but yeah, I like that one the most. And yeah, in the interviews that I went to, we talked about that project the most because I think it looks the best, and you can kind of see that that I was advanced when I made this project right here. All right, so next I want to show you my website that I applied with. I have taken it down. It's offline now, but I still got it here locally, and that was my website that I applied with. So let me just refresh this to show you the effect. And I really, really like this effect. I don't know, it was some WebGL effect. I don't even know how I did this. Can't remember, but I really like that effect right here. And that was it basically. So then there was a about me text with all of the tech stack that I knew, right? And I rebuilt my website, or I updated it later when I searched for another job, but and I updated it with those projects that I already did as a front-end developer. But before that, I had my example projects on here. So I just changed the images right here. And the important thing that I wanted to showcase was the tech stack that I worked with. So those are all of the tech stacks that I worked with right here, right there. And down here, I still have my example project. so the employer would also know what you know and what you're comfortable with. Yeah, so that was it basically. So as you saw, you don't have to know a ton of stuff. So you should really know the basics and be comfortable with the basics. For example, if you apply for a junior position in front end development, you should know the basics of React, because at least here, most of the companies work with React. You should know, what components are, how maybe atomic design works, why state is necessary, how to work with state. You don't have to know the whole Redux pattern, but should know that Redux exists. You should kind of know what server-side rendering is. You really have to know how to work with REST APIs, maybe GraphQL, depends on if it's a hip agency or something like that, or a startup, maybe they work with GraphQL, but in my experience, everything is still based on REST APIs. So, and you should really know the basics, and with kind of 4 to 5 projects, you should showcase and you should be able to show your future employer that you know the basics, right? And what I actually worked on as a junior dev, that I want to show you in the next video. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed it, and click the like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.